Scott Morrison and Josh Frydenberg are hoping their big spending budget will be a vote winner. Tax on fuel will be cut by 50% temporarily, and there'll also be cash handouts for millions of Aussies. The PM was grilled in question time but has denied such measures are an election bribe. Network 10 political editor Peter Van Onselen joins us now from Canberra. PVO, everyone was expecting a budget for the election. Is there anything in this that has long-term vision?
Yeah, I assume you're just joking. Of course not. Now, this is an election budget. There's almost nothing in there that has genuine vision. There's no vision to pay down the debt. There's not a proper implementation of major recommendations from royal commissions into things like aged care. The NDIS needs fixing. We don't have federation reform, no major tax reform either. And of course, inflation looks like it's a little bit rampant, which means interest rates will go up as well. So there's no long-term vision. This is squarely aimed at the next 2 months maximum, which is to get through the election and win it. They're down in the polls. They don't think they will. If it gets them the victory, they'll deal with all the problems of having no vision in the aftermath.
So, Pete, let's go to the sugar hit, the immediate one, petrol obviously, and then you've got the payments to people on pensions, veterans and concession card holders, and then that tax cut for middle and lower income earners. Those three things will go through the Parliament tonight, we understand. Is that enough to convince Middle Australia to vote for Scott Morrison?
Look, it might be. That's certainly what they're banking on. They're banking on those handouts being their equivalent 3 years on from their Back in Black pledge, which got them back in the polls and back in the contest when they won the last election unexpectedly. I don't know if they can get all that luggage over the line this time, though, with all the problems with Scott Morrison and the reality as well that debt is out of control to some extent, and those measures are so temporary, and Labor has, of course, said they're backing them in as well. Does the government get credit for doing it? Well, I think people will be relieved, but I don't know if that'll suddenly mean that they decide to put a one next to the coalition in the ballot box.
Well, you mentioned the other problems that Scott Morrison has. Can we talk about that other speech that has everyone talking today? We've got a bit of it here.
Morrison is not interested in the rules-based order. It is his way or the highway, an autocrat, a bully who has no moral compass. His actions conflict with his portrayal as a man of faith. He has used his so-called faith as a marketing advantage. In my public life, I have met ruthless people. Morrison tops the list. Morrison is not fit to be Prime Minister.
That's Liberal Senator Concetta Fierravanti-Wells, who lost a New South Wales Senate pre-selection over the weekend with that character assessment of the PM there. On the day that he's trying to sell his plans to the public, how damaging do you think that speech is?
Yeah, look, it should be extremely damaging because it's one of his own, a former minister no less, having an absolute red-hot crack and saying that he's not fit to be Prime Minister. But I just wonder if people have already factored in that a lot of his colleagues hate him. This wouldn't be as much of a problem if it was just Connie, because she's had a spray at both past Liberal Prime Ministers as well. She's well known for it, and she does have a level of bitterness, I would suggest, having lost her pre-selection. But she's not Robinson Crusoe on this. I mean, we know that Gladys Berejiklian said that he was a horrible, horrible person. We know that a Cabinet Minister said he was a fraud. Barnaby Joyce said he was a liar. So Connie is adding to a list of character assessments by people who have worked closely with Scott Morrison, and you would have to think that that causes him enormous damage. And that spray was designed to do maximum damage off the back. So put it this way, at the very least, it keeps those character assessments that are so negative up in neon lights right at a time where he wants people to only be talking about the economy and the budget.
Yeah, and we've just spent weeks hearing about alleged bullying on Labor's side too.
Yeah, look, this is a debate that both sides need to have. The Kimberley Kitching saga pointed out that this is not something that is only a Liberal problem, as you say. The issue is whether or not politics, unless there is a profound cultural shift, can ever get away from bullying, because we know that is to some extent, whether we like it or not, under the adversarial Westminster system. It's almost been a feature of it since Federation. And the only difference now is that people are calling it out.
PVO? We'll just wait and see if that changes. I doubt it's going to. But thanks
Might be waiting for a while.
Thanks for your time.
See you guys.
It was almost bizarre last night watching a Victorian-based treasurer in Josh Frydenberg delivering a budget speech, and I sat there and waited to hear the word Victoria, and I didn't hear it. So I went to the papers today and had a look at it, and Victoria's clearly been dudded here for some reason. I mean, the war with Daniel Andrews over COVID has obviously impacted on it to a degree, but when you look at all the big infrastructure, roads and trains and dams, billions and billions of dollars. It's in Queensland, Northern Territory. There's stuff in the Hunter Valley. There's stuff in WA even, not in Victoria.
Don't want to be too cynical, but maybe not enough marginal seats?
Well, that's part of the reason. But I think what they're putting at risk here is Frydenberg's own seat of Kooyong. He's got one of the teal-coloured independents standing against him. And Greg Hunt, the health minister, who's been in the middle of COVID, he's retiring from Flinders. They've got one of those independents there as well. I think they're taking a huge risk.
OK.